Hello guys, welcome back to another Rhino class. And today is going to be one of my favorites, I promise you. It's learning how to move, rotate, and scale objects. This is also going to be the first time that I need you to download a file to work together with me on what we're learning. And you can find it in the description of the video or in the Teams channel. So as you can see here, I have three different exercises that focuses on learning how to move, scale, and rotate. Let's go right to the first one. Let's focus on the top view for now by double clicking and zooming in. So when you're looking at this, kind of what I want you to do is fit these three objects into the three outlines. And we can already see here that the gumball lets us rotate, move, and scale, which I think we already tried before. But what I want us to do this time is to learn how to use the actual commands for these three things. So by actually typing it. So I'm gonna do it now first, and then I'll give you a little break to try it out yourself. Yes? Let's begin with the square. Let's type move. It's only, I see that it is in the same kind of rotation. The size is the same. So the only thing that I need to do really is move. And let's type move, enter. Rhino is asking me the point to move from. Well, let's just pick one of the corners. And remember, if for any reason you are not snapping to the endpoints, make sure that the O snap is turned on properly here in end, point, mid, int, and perp, intersection and perpendicular. So now we pick one of the corners. Let's pick this one, and then we can drag it to lay on top of this dashed line here. So you can see now it is exactly right there. And Joshua, why do I have to do it like this instead of using the gumball? Well, you can use the gumball sometimes. Because I have the grid snap on, it actually would work quite okay. But if, for example, this was not in the grid snap and I want to use my gumball, you see it will never actually fit perfectly into this space. So a quick way and a proper way to move things is using the move command. Select a corner, second corner, and then you have it. So that was move. Next would be rotate. And again, I could, for example, move my triangle here, but they are not in the same angle now. One of them is flipped, and I want it to be fitting inside this dash line. So what can we do? We actually need to use a combination of move and rotate. So it's always easy if you start with a matching point between the two shapes. So let's again pick one of these corners and move it to one matching corner of the shape. Perfect. You can see to rotate it perfectly, I would have to move this line up to here. How will we do that? Well, if I try to use the rotate here in the gumball, it's just going to pick the middle of my shape, which is this white dot. But that's not exactly what I want. Well, in this case, it does work, but I want us to learn how to do it using the command. So let's select our object after we matched two of the points. Let's initiate our rotate command, typing it. And we now pick a center of rotation. In this case, the center of rotation is going to be this matching points here. If I picked somewhere else and then try to rotate it, you can see it kind of gives me this reference point of what's going on. But I want to rotate again. Center of my rotation, I'm going to pick here the matching points. And then I'm going to drag my mouse all the way until the end of my shape, which means that when I move, it will drag the shape from that point on to where I want to fit it in. So perfect. That's lovely. And this is maybe the quickest and easiest way to do it. Of course, you could have done this with the gumball and then moving it to the correct place. But again, because the grid snap is off, it's not going to match perfectly. So you need to use the move regardless. And finally, we have this circle which needs to go there. So for now, I don't really like center O snap, but let's turn on center O snap. Let's type move because I want to move this shape to the center of this shape. Let's pick my object. And then again, because I have center, it will match the center with me. If I don't have it, it will not do it. And center appears if you hover your mouse along the curve. So let's center this. I will click it. You can see I'm now dragging with my mouse this oval shape from the center. And then again, I can move it to one of the curves here of this circle, and it will go into the center. Perfect. It's in position. However, the scaling is not correct. In this case, it's actually quite okay to then use these square handles from the gumball to kind of drag it in to match perfectly. Amazing. So I'm going to give you a short break that you can try to do this yourself in your own file, and then we'll come right back. Awesome. I hope it went well. Otherwise, just go back and watch the video again. Now we have the next exercise. And here, there's a little bit more going on. So we need to jump out of the top view and maybe go into the perspective view. Let's, again, if you don't remember, to drag around in the perspective view by right-clicking with your mouse, you are going to rotate the view. And by holding Shift and right-click, you're going to pan the view. You can also do it from this icon here and left-click. So here we have our Greek pillar or something along these lines. And here we have two pieces that will make the same shape with, again, these familiar outlines that we want to move our objects into. So we're gonna try basically now move, rotate, and scale, but in 3D to achieve the same shape that we have here on the right side with these pieces. So what will I do first? Well, let's try with the bottom of the pillar. Let's do a move command. Let's select our pillar, press enter to confirm, and we pick one of the corners. Actually, I'm going to pick the middle of my shape here and move it here to this place. So now I can see that I fit it into the middle of the outline, but of course the other dimension is still not the same. What can I do? Well, you can of course use the gumball, so drag the scale. You can also use the scale command by typing it. So let's try now scale, press enter. We want to select our object, press enter, and then we need a base point. Of course, because we needed to go both ways, to the left and to the right, the base point would be somewhere along the middle. Let's click in the middle, and then let's pick the end of the object as our reference point and click to confirm. And then we start scaling. But you see what's happening here? It's actually scaling in all three dimensions. And that's not really what we want to do. We just want it to grow like this. So how can we fix that? Scale has three commands. There is scale by itself, which is all three dimensions. I'm going to show you quickly here, scale. So if I would like to make this bigger, I could do it like so with the scale command. There is also scale 2D, which is going to scale things in two dimensions, not all three. So let's try it out. Maybe this is the one that will fix our problem. Click here, click here. Well, you can see what's going on here. It's going growing bigger to the left, but also that way. It's not growing bigger in the Z height, but it is growing in the other. So still, scale 2D is not perfect. The only thing left is scale 1D, so one-dimensional scale. Let's pick this one. Again, it's important that the center base point is the middle. If I pick, for example, a corner, well, we could try that out, but we want to move it first to have a matching corner. Again, before we had matching middle points, which would work, but now we have matching corner points. So let's try again, scale 1D. We pick our matching corners. we drag our mouse all the way to the other end of the shape and we click. And as you can see now, it works amazing. So scale 1D will scale an object in only one dimension. Now we did it horizontally, you could also try it vertically. And let's try it just for the sake of it. Now that we have matching middle points, let's try again, scale 1D, select our object, press enter, and let's pick the matching middle point, drag it over here. And now, because it's from the middle to a certain direction, it's also going to mirror that to the other side, giving us essentially the same result, just with a different reference point. And now we have the final piece of this puzzle, which is this pillar top. So again, let's move it. Um, let's move it all the way to here. And oh no, it is not matching. It's rotated a little bit, so it's not perfectly. And we need to have it perfect. So what do? Again, we use the rotate command and we pick one of our matching points. It's going to ask us to choose a reference, which we can use this corner here and move it to the right place. So great, the pillar is in position, the base is there. The only thing is, now these two are different heights. Again, with the gumball, you could try that out. You could drag this to match it. However, it's also doing it to the bottom because it's going like this. So how do we fix that? Again, by using scale 1D. So we want to grow it only in the height dimension. So let's try it out ourselves. Scale 1D. Pick a base point, which I'm going to pick this base point. And then I go straight up until another point. This will allow us to drag our mouse and move it to the correct height. But because I'm in perspective mode, I cannot really see exactly what is the correct one. So let's double click to go out of perspective and let's go into the front view, zoom out until we find here our shapes. And then I can find the correct height and confirm it. Great. So now we have two exactly the same pillars. One thing that is quite important to know when using the scale 1D is that it will scale in the direction of your reference line. So for example, now we tried to go straight up from this point to this point, which will make it grow in the z-axis, which is the height. But if I by accident pick a point here but go up in an angle, so you can see that the line of my reference is not really straight, it's going a bit like this. When I start to drag up, it will increase the scale with that reference, which leads to some funny results. So when you're using scale 1D or any scale command by chance, just always make sure that you're doing it in a straight line. If your intention is to create something crooked, that's also fine. But if you're trying to make a precise adjustment, usually a straight line will be the best option. And again, I'm going to give you a break that you can go and try it out yourself. And if you have any questions, just rewind the video. All right, welcome back. I hope it went well with your pillar exercise. But let's move on to this mess. What's going on here? So it seems like somebody dumped out all their furniture of this kind of The Sims style room view here. And they left some clues of where the furniture has to go back. And an extra challenge. Now their room is kind of closed off, so they have no space to breathe and they have no view. So they drew on their wall a kind of outline of where they want a window to go, which I think they deserve a window. So let's try this out. Here we have a few objects. So two chairs, a lamp, this kind of plant thing, a bed, and a wardrobe. So what can we do? Well, again, this is just an exercise of rotate and move. You don't need to use scale because the furniture doesn't have to change size. So let's just begin. Let's pick the wardrobe as the first object. Let's type in move. pick one point that we want to use as our reference. Again, if you want to move your camera in the perspective view, you do so by holding Shift and right click in the mouse. Let's zoom in until we find here the correct spot. So again, we have a matching corner points, but yeah, this is looking a bit funny. Also, I'm trying to zoom in now, it's acting a little bit funny and I don't have really a reference point anymore. So if by any chance you cannot zoom in anymore or you're kind of lost in your file, you can always select one object and find this little icon here. It's called zoom selected, and click. It will drag out your zoom to have only this object in view. And now again, we can look around and have a better perspective. So we have a matching corner. Let's start the rotate command and pick that matching point. Pick a second reference and drag it here so it is correct. So we have already a piece of the puzzle set into place. What shall we do next? Here I have the bed is at a funny angle. It's flipped on the side and it's also a bit crooked. So let's jump out of the perspective view and let's leave all of the viewports on. And let's look here. So you can see it's a bit slanted. Let's try a rotate command, pick one of the reference points, and you can see whatever I do on the top view, it is happening in all the other views. And if I move my mouse from the top view to the right view, instead of rotating the bed as I initially wanted, I can rotate it in a different way, which will cause this to happen. But first, let's fix it in the top view. So rotate, pick one corner, pick a reference point, and then drag it until it is correct. Another cheat code that you can try to do is doing the rotate command, clicking one of the corners and then your reference point, and you can turn on the ortho view, which will make sure that it is in a 90-degree angle. So then it also eliminates a chance of you, by any coincidence, picking an angle that is not correct. But let's leave it off for now. So we have now the bed in this direction horizontally, but we also need to flip it the other way. Well, in this case, the gumball will be good. However, you can see because I don't have ortho on, it's letting me choose every angle possible. I can turn on ortho temporarily with my other hand holding the shift button. You see it's locking to 90 degrees. Otherwise, I come down here, turn ortho on, and then drag the rotate handle in the gumball, and it will flip the bed to be correct. And now the only thing we need to do is click on it, confirm with the move command, and find here the spot for the bed. Awesome. What shall we do next? Maybe one of the chairs. We have two chairs here, one on top of each other. We can do a cheeky little gumball. Now we have the chair in the right orientation. Let's move, pick a corner, and match here. Of course, the person here wants the chair to be a little bit slanted now instead of in the right angle like these other two objects. So let's rotate, pick the matching corner, another reference point, and drag it to the right spot. And again, let's do the same, move, one point, rotate, same point, reference point, and there we go. This is quite repetitive, but it's actually a lot of the work that we're going to be doing later on. You need to understand how to do these commands really well. So it's good practice to try this out a few times. I see that my lamp and my plant are going to be in front of my window. So maybe we can try to do the window first. What can we do here? So if you watch the previous videos, you know what a Boolean command is. And that's how we manipulate different 3D objects together. And they left us a handy Boolean object here to cut out of this solid wall. Well, again, we can do a move command. Let's pick one of the corners, match it here. but the cube that they left us is way too small. So what can we do? Well, we can do the handy scale 1D. Because I had the object selected, it will keep my selection active. I can go here and find the inside point of my object. Then I pick the other side because I want to scale it in this direction. Click, and then drag all the way to the other side to find the correct spot. You don't necessarily have to do the scale with a line that is touching the reference line that you want. Let's try that out right now. So let's instead pick this outside point. We of course want to make it go higher in the height. So let's pick here. And then we can drag our mouse all the way to here. Let's say that it was not grid snapping. You can, of course, find another reference point that is a different height, and it will always drag your object to that height. So if I wanted to do a ceiling to a floor window, I could also go all the way up and find a reference point with my O-snap, and it will snap perfectly as well. Great. So we have it correctly. However, it's not going through my wall. So what can we do? Here we can do a simple gumball and just drag it like this. And now I can see that it is going through. So let's turn on back grid snap and let's begin our Boolean. If you remember, the Boolean of removing things is called Boolean difference. So Boolean difference. We pick the objects we want to subtract from, which is our wall, the object that we want to keep. Press enter, and the subtracting object, which is this window. Press enter, and magically they have now a window. How lovely. So let's finish off with the lamp and the plant. So the lamp is easier, I think. Let's move it to here. Again, it's not in the right place. They really made a mess outside. I don't know what they were trying to do. Rotate to reference points, and there we go. And now here the plant. It's a little bit tricky because if I try to rotate it with my gumball, it's not really giving me a good result. So let's leave perspective for now, and let's look here in the right viewport and rotate. And here I can pick a line that is horizontally with the floor and then drag it over and find the correct angle. But that's not really working because I picked the horizontal line and I should have picked this one. So sometimes you also need to try out a bit and find which reference point could be working better for you. So if I picked this one instead of that one, I can easily find the 90-degree angle instead of the other way around. And now, of course, we have again a circular shape, which my friend, or not so good friend, center O-snap can come in handy. Let's do the move, and let's find here the center, and then again, move here to find the center as well. All right, so the room is now tidy, and we are masters in moving, rotating, and scaling. I'm going to give you now the break and the end of the video. If you have any questions, just go back and try it out a bunch of times until you are a master, because it's going to help you a lot in the next videos or next classes. Thank you very much, and see ya!